Let's talk about this story we got from The Hill. YouTube temporarily suspends and demonetizes Dan Bongino's channel. This is huge, notably because Dan Bongino plays a huge role in Rumble. I believe he's one of their principal investors, and he's been moving off the platform. Anyway, not to mention his podcast, the audio version, is one of the biggest in the world. The Hill says, YouTube took action against conservative commentator Dan Bongino's channel Friday, suspending it for violating the platform's COVID-19 misinformation policy and demonetizing it for at least 30 days. Wow. The week-long posting suspension stems from a video where Bongino said that masks are useless in stopping the spread of the disease. YouTube's COVID-19 policy specifically prohibits content denying the effectiveness of wearing masks, which the vast majority of the scientific community agrees reduces the risk of infection. This is true. Even the frontline doctors have said to wear masks. This is one of the things that really bothers me, but Dan Bongino, in my opinion, is entitled to his opinion. Of course. YouTube doing this is driving a nail into their own platform. And not only that, useless. Is it a fact statement or a hyperbolic statement? Is he saying it's not effective enough and just being hyperbolic? Was his intention to say that they do nothing or that they don't do enough is the issue? There's no room for nuance. When I see things like this, it says to me that YouTube's actual intent is just get rid of people like Dan Bongino.
Yeah, people that are on their way out anyway, and they're like, well, he's obviously sending his energy into Rumble right now.
Yep. And he's driving viewers from YouTube to Rumble. Exactly. So they're like, cut him off now. Yeah. But I do want to point this out, too, for a lot of people, because we've had people on the show question the effectiveness of masks. It is true. On the mask box says it doesn't stop, the COVID virus.
Right.
But it does stop you from spitting on people. And for some reason, there was this flippening where early in the pandemic, conservatives wanted to wear masks and then all of a sudden didn't. And now we're in this era where the right is saying, things like masks are useless. Let me just say this. I've looked at a bunch of studies and a bunch of data. The virus, as my understanding, can be transmitted aerosolized through vapor as well as from spit if you're spitting. If you're wearing a mask, you're blocking that spit. And I think it's fairly obvious that would stop you from spitting on people and help reduce the transmission of COVID. The frontline coalition of doctors that they do the mask protocol and talk about alternative treatments actually tell people to wear masks as well. So I don't understand why there's like a tribal thing to say not wear them. That being said, I oppose the suspension. I oppose the censorship, obviously. But you know what? If it builds up Rumble, not even necessarily even the biggest fan of Rumble, mind you, but if it breaks the YouTube monopoly, then so be it. Let them be their own demise.
I think YouTube is also dealing with a very tough situation. Rogan getting 40 million to 50 million views, according to some estimates, with his latest interviews with Dr. Malone, Dr. McCullough. And I think those big, huge instances that everyone's talking about is something that, of course, YouTube is missing out on. And that's why we even talked about a few days ago why Joe Rogan's move to Spotify was a kind of genius move, a smarter move, because YouTube could deal without having Rogan on their platform, but Spotify can't. YouTube's already censoring, the videos that were on there, but there comes a certain point where people start seeing YouTube for what it is, and I think YouTube is reaching this kind of pivotal point where they're like, holy crap, everyone's kind of jumping ship here. What do we do? I think this is a kind of very important turning stone moment where a lot of people are asking the questions, where do we go next?
Turning stone moment.
Yes. Another Lukeism.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yes.
Good, yeah.
I don't know what a turning stone is, but I do like the sound of it. We should make like a stone with like, ancient carvings on it, changing the narrative.
The turning stone.
No, I think, what we're seeing right now, the fear and panic over Joe Rogan. And I believe what we're seeing here from YouTube is fear and panic over Dan Bongino. Mm-hmm. So there have been a bunch of people. We were talking to the CEO of Rumble who was saying that people do live streams on YouTube and then tell everybody, okay, the rest of the show will only be on Rumble. Mm-hmm. So they simulcast at the same time on both platforms, and then halfway through the show say, bye-bye YouTube, and turn it off to drive everyone to the other platform. That's massive.
Yes.
That's very damaging. Dan Bongino puts his show on Rumble. Suspending him will do nothing. In fact, it will just hurt YouTube. Now, my ultimate fear is YouTube plays a dirty game. Google, Alphabet, they subsidize YouTube. So it's very difficult for the likes of, say, Rumble to compete with a partner program like YouTube, where Google gets all this money from external sources and then pays people. But as super chats are becoming the principal driver of revenue, you look at Salty Cracker, who's on Rumble, and we were talking to the CEO of Rumble, and he's like, this guy is getting insane amounts of super chats. He's doing better than he would be on YouTube, because people support him and they're involved, and you'll get a better community on these other platforms. I don't know if Rumble is the answer. But you know what? With the more I see the censorship, let these big tech companies be their own demise.
It's not. Yeah, I wouldn't say the Rumble is the answer, but it's definitely a soothing mechanism for the pain. For the moment, it's not solving the problem of tech censorship because it's still a proprietary censorable network that is censoring actively. It's just maybe more judicious in its censorship currently. I'm all for it, but we got to free the software code.
The absurdity of the YouTube position on this, as it pertains to COVID misinformation, is that so much changes every single day, from even Dr. Fauci himself. How are we supposed to know what the rules are or abide by rules when the science keeps changing? There's a meme of Fauci as Vader where he's like, the science has changed, pray I don't change it further. The line, he's like, the deal has changed or whatever the arrangement. So when we're looking at their policy on COVID misinformation, and then you get breaking news where it's like in New York, they have record-breaking cases, what are we supposed to say? How are you even supposed to follow those rules? Unless you are blind to history, to even recent history, and you just repeat whatever it is the mainstream media is saying,
right,
you're going to get banned whenever they feel like banning you.
Well, that's a great point, because what you're saying means that it's all about controlling who's able to shape and drive narratives. You can exist downstream from sanctioned narratives, and you're fine. But if you're in the business of shaping narratives, then you're in trouble because you can't get out ahead of the mainstream authoritative sources.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
This is part of what's leading to impact investing. Have you followed this impact investing? Sorry, my headphones just cut out and back in. Have you heard of this at all? Impact investments? This is like 21st century people with big money are coming to basically buy off influence. It's all about purchasing influence now and getting ahead of it.
Well, I mean, influence is incredibly important. Arguably more important than money itself.
I think so.
And that's how it's treated. Influence is, the media really is in the business of creating people's reality, and that the system needs that to sustain itself. The entire ecology of how the ruling class exists, the regime exists, it all rests on shaping narratives for people. And that's why it's more important than any profit, and why profit motive is never going to be the ultimate factor in any major media organization.
Controlling the myth.
Do you remember when Micah Brzezinski said that?
I don't remember.
She said Mika Brzezinski said it's our job to control what people think, or something like that.
Yep.
I understand there's this shared myth.
That's Zbigniew Brzezinski's daughter, by the way, who's also a very interconnected globalist. But the big aspect here is that this was a temporary suspension. This is why I think this is an important moment with YouTube at first cutting Don Bongino off and then coming back and saying, okay, we'll give you your money back. I think they're in a desperate situation. I think they're losing a lot of key critical viewers. I think overall people are realizing, hey, I don't want to be dictated to. I don't want an algorithm curating what I should see. I don't want my perspective limited to a few tech oligarchs and their flip-flop wearing, latte drinking, limousine liberal viewpoints. I don't want that. I want the internet that was first given to us, that was free, that was open, that was weird, that was wild. I loved when I was able to go on there and see raw humanity in front of us, and not a corporate Disney World viewpoint that is watered down to save slogans and talking points. And I think YouTube is realizing that, and I think, they're making a big change here, and that's why I think they brought back monetization for Bongino.
Brought back? What do you mean they suspended him? Suspended
temporarily.
30 days. No. He's kicked out of the partner program. He has to reapply in 1 month. He's done. He's out. But let's play a fun game. This is called Mika Brzezinski, whatever. Our job to control what people think, followed by her public statement after the fact. Let me play the audio for you.
Exactly. That's exactly what I hear. What Yamiche just said is what I hear from all the Trump supporters that I talk to who were Trump voters and are still Trump supporters. They go, yeah, you guys are going crazy. He's doing, what are you so surprised about? He's doing exactly what he said he's going to do.
Well, and I think that the dangerous, edges here are that he's trying to undermine the media, trying to make up his own facts. And it could be that while unemployment and the economy worsens, he could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think. And that is our job.
Yeah, if you look at the issue.
And that is our job, she said. And then she tweets, today I said it's the media job to keep President Trump from making up his own facts, not that it's our job to control what people think. She said Trump could make up, he could tell people exactly what to think, but that's our job.
Yeah.
Right.
And then she tweets she didn't say it.
Right.
You got to be a special kind of stupid to fall for the media at this point. I'm sorry, man. I just can't deal with these people.
I think that when you talk about a shared mythology, humans need one, otherwise they fight. So we had Christianity for the religions developed basically shared myth, and now like news media is kind of like a shared mythology. Everyone can tune in and organize and believe the same thing. But obviously, when they're lying to you, you don't want that myth. We got to find a more stable, real myth. But what do we do in this fractured information economy? What's the real mythology of today?
Their ratings are down by 90%. I'm gonna have some champagne. I'm gonna sit back. We're gonna have a good night. It's Friday night. We got news earlier in the week that that MSNBC and CNN's ratings are down by 90%. Guess what? Our ratings are going up.
That's right.
Your viewership is going up. So you know what? I don't care about these people. I love exposing them and showing these duplicitous, evil people are lying to you and manipulating. And I long for a world where people, they assume personal responsibility, they work hard, they strive to be the best person they can be, and that only will be possible when they're getting correct information for which to build their lives off of.
Yep.
And there's even poll numbers showing that Americans trust the media on COVID for an estimated 10% of Americans. 10% of Americans trust the media when it comes to COVID.
Just that little.
Yep.
Amazing.
You got to be careful.
And Fauci's at 31%, I think.
Even if the media is being honest, like if I draw a 6 on the table and you're like, that's a 9. And I'm like, that's a 6, Darren. And then we get into an argument. We're both right, but we're obviously not saying the same. We're seeing different things, but we're both right. So even if a media is being honest with you, you're still going to have people seeing different things. And we got to figure out a way to communicate a shared like understanding of reality, even when we're seeing it differently.
You know what I think? I think I'm going to buy a bunch of CNN swag and memorabilia because it's going to be, now that they're collapsing and crumbling. Yeah, it's going to become, like once CNN is gone, people are going to be like, oh, whoa, I remember that. I see him in the airport.
It's going to be like the Buffalo nickel.
That's right. It'll be 5 years from now, and it'll be like, "Yo, check this out! I got a CNN mug." And
Like
no way,
Crystal Pepsi.
Yeah. Good. You know what, man? We have a decentralizing media environment. There's good things and there's bad things about it. With the bad is that some people, go off in rabbit holes. That can happen. But for the most part, you end up with, on YouTube and now with competition forming on Rumble, the ability to get multiple voices of differing opinions, which gives you a healthier diet. When you go on one of these platforms, and this is why I think it's bad that YouTube is censoring people, because here's the benefit. You can go on YouTube and look up something about immigration. You can find videos from me, kind of moderate. You can find videos from Crowder, more conservative, videos from Jimmy Dore, anti-establishment left, and maybe even, the Young Turks establishment left. You get all of those different views. You get a healthier diet through YouTube. YouTube censorship is turning them into everything wrong with CNN and MSNBC, that all their hosts toe the exact same line, say the exact same thing, and do not give you a healthy perspective. I like the fact that there's more websites, more channels, more personalities, that people have less centralized power in this, because now you can have people who watch this show, watch Crowder and Jimmy Dore, and be like, hey, Tim, you were wrong about this. Jimmy Dore said this and Crowder said this. And I can be like, oh, wow, good point. More voices, better.
Right.
Censorship bad.
Diminishing return. More voices better, diminishing return on that.
For sure.
If you have too many voices, then it becomes incoherent.
Well,
although, as long as you can select the way you view the voices, maybe more voices, the better.
I don't understand how YouTube thinks that they could have a future when they're trying to shove down our throats this nasty crap that is CNN that people don't even want to watch in airports and hotel rooms.
I think that
by
Google's given up.
I mean, their viewership is going down dramatically, as Tim just mentioned. But and this is their strategy. Whenever you look up something news related, we get CNN, something that people overwhelmingly don't like. How can a business keep
again it gets to the point. It's not a business in the usual sense, and the fact that they are continuing this trajectory of presumably hurting their customer experience and so forth indicates, for one, that that's their primary objective is to be important, because they don't really have to. They're subsidized by the most powerful company in the world, essentially. And secondly, it shows the more that they censor, it shows that they're actually betting on all of these incipient alternatives to be crushed in some fashion or another. And I think that's another thing that we should really think about, is that, yes, Rumble's growing and these alternatives are growing, but there might be just an ultimate bottleneck to a genuine alternative to what YouTube was supposed to be. And once something gets to be too influential and too subversive, the regime will find ways to destroy it.
That's true, but they're losing, it looks like. And, we had this funny article. I don't think we'll get into it in greater detail, but Joe Rogan mocks Getter, saying, I don't know how to get off. He complained the site artificially bloats follower counts by including a person's Twitter following. And he's right about that. I like Getter. There's a lot of users on it, and that's important. But I do think Gab is substantially better in that they run their own infrastructure. And they're actually challenging the establishment and becoming a real thorn in their side.
Well, it's just a different enterprise. Gab is really doing a full spectrum. Like, they're taking very seriously the idea of just build your own X. And they're doing it with the platform, with the server, with the browser, with the payment process. They're going full spectrum, and they're just playing a very different game, a much more difficult game. I give them tremendous credit for Andrew Torba for his ambition, his persistence, his boldness, and I wish him all the best in it. But I really think if you want to be on the main stage as a communications platform, you're ultimately going to come up to that bottleneck of the national security state and of the regime, and they have many ways to deal with emerging threats like this.
They can go after centralized services of any kind. So if you control the logins, if you control the passwords, if you store any data, the CIA can come take it at any moment. So you want to decentralize services in that manner. And they can also take your code, your source code, and force you to shut up and do what they want. And if you're the only one that has the code, they basically lock it in. And they make it do what they want. So you free the code out so that if you get stuck, at least the code's still out there for people to wrap up more organizations.
He's a communist. Don't listen to him.
Cyber communist.
I don't know. We argue about the free the code thing. I don't think it's a solution.
It's for me, it's a vulnerability for the deep state to take a hold of your company if that's the only place where that code exists.
I just don't. If someone builds code, the code belongs to them and
to
their
the
company.
CIA. It belongs to the CIA.
If the
when
CIA
it gets
builds
popular.
it.
No, if Google builds it, the CIA controls it basically.
That's just theft.
Unfortunately,
Take a drink, everyone. Ian said free the code.
And
Here's another one. We need a bingo card.
It's not just
with,
the CIA.
Ian's
but I imagine,
points.
along with what Darren, what you're saying is that the government does come when the organization gets big enough and will start to control it from the outside.
Even look at Parler. As Parler, I think it's fair to say, is a joke compared to Gab, and it's a joke compared to Getter. And even in that case, when it looked like, it might be some type of threat, January 6th completely destroyed it. Yeah. On top of, I think, probably incompetence and so forth. But all it served was, there's a bunch of chatter on Parler pertaining to this insurrection event. Now all of a sudden it is a vehicle for threatening the national security state, and it's treated like a threat. And that gets back full circle back to the Lindell situation, is that if you are a genuine threat to the regime or in any remote sense, you become Iran.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Now, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.